This is the 8-9 Combo.
This is the 8-9 Combo. I'm Brett McKay. This is Harry Jones. And mate, it's finals time.
It is. And in this overwhelming spirit of positivism and everyone being very positive, I am sort of choking on it. So I've been fixated on the least. And so I'll continue on this little series by giving you a few nuggets. The least scrum penalty wins in the world. Ulster, 5%. And they just got Angus Bell. Least blindside attack. Fijian Drua, a mere 7%. The most inviting team, letting you in. Entries into their own 22. Bristol Bears in the semifinals. The least maul meters, you might guess this, the Waratahs, only 5.7 meters per game. And our worst exits, I don't want to talk. Stormers. We have the worst exits in world.
Wow.
Rugby. But you guys, Brumbies are the least evasive, so that's funny too.
Yeah, it is true. That is funny.
You should evade more.
Definitely need to evade more. Here's cheers. What are we giving cheers to over the weekend? Let me start for you. Let me kick this off for you, if you'll allow me the pun. I am cheering kicking contests, not the shithousery around them, but just the concept of kicking contests. I love it. I would not enjoy it if it was my teams involved. The bonus cheer is that Super Rugby has it as well. But my jeers for you is that there's 10 minutes of golden point extra time after extra time before we get to the kicking comp in Super Rugby.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So there's an extra layer before we get there.
That complicates having the people on the field that you need, because the Sharks did that 30 seconds before the kicking contest, Bradley David's on, and it turned out to be the genius stroke.
It turned out to be a master stroke. Yeah, yeah. And the Super Rugby version is slightly different as well, whereas in the ERC, they nominated 3 kickers and then they rotated between 6 spots. In Super Rugby, it's all in the 22, and you rotate 5 kickers through 3 spots. And then you just keep going until like football style. So it could be five or something. So
however
slightly different way.
However you settle this, it's always going to be a bit strange because you have to get away from rugby and do something, whether it's having a wrestling contest.
That's rugby adjacent. Yes, you do. Fire away.
I will sort of chajir. And my chajir is all these very righteous, precious hot taking from Ireland, and in particular, a man who was picked for the Lions once upon a time and then not able to tour with the Lions because he eye gouged someone, which involves an eye. And he's been holding forth about the wink, which also involves an eye, and saying that it's just really horrible. Alan Quinlan, give yourself an uppercut in the eye.
Can you, just for all our new subscribers this week, can you deliver the aforementioned free wink?
There was a guy, who was it? I'm not sure if it was a man or a woman, but someone joined purely on the basis.
Purely because of you winked. Yeah. I've never seen someone work so hard for a wink. It will be great to welcome Sean Maloney back for another great rugby chat in just a moment. But first, mate, tell the nice people why we would love them to become subscribers of the 8-9 Combo.
Because we'll stop fucking talking about it if you join. Just get in. Stop dilly-dallying around.
That's what it comes down to.
It's like being on time for fishing or golf, or in this case, our pod. You go be on time. There's just no excuse.
Yes. No, fair. If you are watching us on the YouTube channel, just hit the red button down there in the bottom corner. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Pods, then hit subscribe, like, follow, whatever it happens to be. And make sure you don't miss a minute. Back from a weekend of lighter commentary duties as per the Rugby Australia resting policies ahead of the Lions series. You might remember him from such titles as Between Two Posts Extra and the Between Two Posts Chat for Another Day Special. Please welcome back to the 8-9 Combo from Stan Sport and the Nine Network in Australia, Sean Maloney. Hello, mate.
G'day, man. Didn't Swaney luck out doing that game on Friday night between the Brumbies and the Crusaders? And then I took Saturday night's one on the chin up in Brisbane on a wet night where the Reds were outstanding and the Drua didn't really get off the plane.
They were still on the Gold Coast. Yeah. I went down the stairs to the ABC commentary box and stuck my head in the window of your box like I normally do, and there's Andrew Swain. I was like, "Oh, hello, mate."
It's another big bald man with a beard.
Indeed. Mate,
That's what Brett
there.
surrounds himself with, Shawnee.
Very true.
Hey, before we
true.
get into the finals and the season that's been, Harry, can you do me a favour and not put any ad spend behind a clip on Twitter that may lead to us getting just absolutely shredded for a week from all the darkest corners of the globe? I had forgotten how nasty a place Twitter could actually be, because that negativity seems to have crept in over on Instagram now and dropped away from Twitter. It's still there. The venom, the anger, the unhinged antics of some lunatics from all the corners of the globe, still on Twitter. Good to see.
And they had longevity. That was going for days.
Yeah, it was.
It was.
Oh, man.
Lessons learned. Yeah. Good fun. How have you seen the season, mate? It has been a season, to put it that way.
It has, and Pato, our dear friend Ian Payton, put out a really good article yesterday that sort of dot pointed and detailed all the metrics that have improved across the season. Pato did a really good job of it. So if you want to get a really strong feel as to how it all played out, then hit him up on smh.com.au. It's been amazing. I mean, just the closeness of a lot of the matches, the quality of a lot of the games. That Reds Hurricanes game last week was as good as I've seen in a long time. Then it was followed up with Brumbies Crusaders, a lot of close matches. And it's just been a bit of a turn, I think, this year. I don't know what to put it down to, but it just feels like the positivity's back.
Yeah, I keep coming back, Harry, to the equality in bonus points. And when there is as many losing bonus points as try scoring bonus points, I can't help but think that is a good measure of a healthy competition.
Well, my big positive factor about Super Rugby was just that Sanzar executed things. Like, maybe just having a guy that was in charge of it, that was not too swallowed up by something else. They were able to, even if you disagree with the shape of game, they did what they said they would do. We're going to cut out static time. They did it. It's almost like, oh, good, you can do things. And there's a long run of sort of, I don't know, just ineffectualness. Is that a word? And so that was good. Like, state your claim, say what you want. And I think the fans always vote with their feet, and there's no denying it. So I think, when you saw people coming back, New Zealand as well as Australia, I think that was just welcome.
Yeah, absolutely. Small point of note: it's not Sanzar anymore because it's just a joint venture between Rugby Australia and New Zealand. But
whatever that thing is called.
The body. Yeah. But the difference, I think, this year is that we have actually seen the impact of the independent body actually having an impact. And you're right. There's a CEO who's just worried about Super Rugby, and he said we want to do X, Y, Z, and they did it largely. So I think, Shawnee, local final round results, I think they all sort of, went the way that we expected they probably would, even with the one close result going against the Brumbies. But in the end, did we get the top six that we thought we would?
Before we get into the top six that we just had, I didn't realise you guys were running full frame graphics now. So
no, we don't muck around.
Of the 8-9 podcast.
Look at this.
Yeah, the listeners of the 8-9 podcast, I can tell you, wherever you dialed in via Spotify, Apple, and the rest of it, the gang now have proper graphics overlaying the chat. Chiefs too good for the Highlanders, Crusaders. Fellas, that's very impressive, I got to say.
It is. We don't muck around.
No,
but
you're not.
I'll also say
you're not mucking around.
We also very quickly hit the upper limit of our capabilities.
Yeah.
Where do we go from here?
I was going to say, Harry, someone's now got to fork out for the Canva premium product, and the budget doesn't extend that far.
No,
it doesn't go quite that far.
It does not. No, it is all Canva free here, mate.
Right, I'll tell you what, it might have been or something. Some slow motion work could be fun.
Yeah.
It might have been the final six that we could have predicted at the start of the season, but I tell you what, at least it came down to the final weekend where we had a chance for the Waratahs to try and, pull off a miracle win against the Blues and sneak through. I reckon, it's got to be a season of what ifs, maybe for the Western Force. They let a couple slip where if we just track back, momentarily, fellas, very quickly, Force probably should have put away the Hurricanes in that 17-all draw over there in Perth and lost after the bell against the Reds at home. And I still don't know how they lost to the Waratahs. I don't know. So I think maybe 3 should have been a better representation. A season of what ifs for the Force of all teams.
Yeah, and also they had individual performances that were stellar. My team of the tournament I just did for the Roar had Harry Potter, Hamish Stewart, Carlo Tizzano, Jeremy Williams. That's and they were really strong. It was like Carlo kind of setting records and stuff. I suppose I wonder, we would have all put the Blues in the top 6 in the beginning of the season, but in the middle of the season, we would have been
and I think that's the distinction we need to make. At the start of the year, you probably would have said, yes, this will be the top 6. So I think the Crusaders will come good again. They'll be there. This will be the top 6. But I would say even a month into the competition, we're going, I don't know if the Blues are going to get there. And even as, even going into the last couple of rounds, I was certainly hoping that, one of the Force or the Tars might scrape in. Even Moana probably had an argument, or had a case to be there. They had a really, really good year. It would have been fantastic to see them get through. And in the end, the Blues, what did I say on the weekend, Harry? The Blues were in the top 6 for 2 rounds of the year, and one of them happens to be round 16.
Yeah, but we would have missed out on the wonderful Blues social media guy.
Yes, that's true.
He's a cut above. I loved the early season where he just flipped the table around because they were at the bottom, and he just said, "You like it this way."
Makes perfect sense to us now. Yeah. No, that's valid. That's probably valid. So then qualifying finals, mate. Let's just get straight to that. And here you go. Here's more impressive graphics for you.
Good God, this is wild.
Reds. Yeah. I spare no expense in pinching social media graphics off the competition and then just placing it onto a background. That's how we
take them. That's what they're there for.
Yeah, exactly. So Crusaders, Reds on Friday night, Chiefs, Blues on Saturday evening in New Zealand, Brumbies, Hurricanes in Canberra to follow. 3 ripping games of rugby. I'm really looking forward to all of them, in fact.
You think that those are dangerous, aren't they?
As am I.
All those could go the wrong way for the favorite.
They are. They are. When are we going to discuss the potential dead rubber nature of Saturday nights, or are we just not going to mention it?
Yeah, so I was having a discussion earlier in the week, just before I put out that little social clip about how the finals format works, because I'd actually had to clarify a couple of things before I committed myself to video. And yes, in that discussion, we did concede that yes, it does actually mean the way that it is that there could actually be a dead rubber, so to speak, on Friday night. Now,
so
the only really way to avoid that, mate, would have been for the good people of Channel 9 to say, "Oh no, we could put that game on another time."
Do we know that the good people at Channel 9 said that couldn't happen?
That was the explanation I was given. Yes.
In terms of the Friday night game, do we know that for sure?
In terms of they wanted Saturday night, was my understanding.
Oh, okay, interesting. I had not heard that. Anyways, it is what it is, and hopefully we get an upset, as you say, Harry, in the first of the 2 games, and it could easily go that way. It honestly could, because of the way that. Let's start with the Crusaders, Reds. I reckon the Reds are building really nicely, and you guys obviously covered off their game from earlier in the season when they were terrible in that afternoon game over there against the Crusaders. There's no way they're playing like that again in that part of New Zealand. Just no chance. And they've started to come up. We know that they've got really good wet weather form because every single
because that's all they've played this
fucking game this year in Brisbane has been wet. I feel so terrible for Pete Fairbairn and the commercial team at the Reds, because they have been hammered with the worst run of weather ever up there. But they've still had good crowds, and they're playing really good wet weather footy as well. So if it gets slippery underfoot in Christchurch, I don't think that'll trouble them so much. And they've got a hard edge to them now. Like, this is a good footy team. really good footy team. So we got them, Harry. Do you want to discuss that before we move on to the next one and their hopes?
Yeah, so I think in times past you'd say, Crusaders can take care of business. But even though the Crusaders are back, they're not fully back. So I do think the Reds have a little shot here. That's interesting.
And the Reds won in Christchurch only fairly recently. So they'll go over there with no fears at all. And that can be liberating. Like they can actually go over there and play with freedom. Like it's almost got nothing to lose.
I think we learned that they really do. Harry Wilson is a big add to them, so we're hoping that Harry is back. I don't know what the latest is on the arm, but it was heavily strapped, correct? So we were looking at that one.
I was watching that game against Fiji the other last Saturday. I was like, get him off, Les. Like, get him off the field. I don't want him getting injured. And then sure enough, he's got. They had it wrapped up. I wanted him off after 20 minutes, but then the counter to that from Morgs and Berkey was that he needs meters in the leg. Yeah, because he hasn't played a whole lot of footy the last little bit. But I said, no, I don't care about that. Get him off. Get him on next week. Yeah, and on that same point, Harry, if you go back and look at his performances against the Crusaders in particular, for whatever reason, the big guy, Big H, always plays really well against the red and black.
Yes.
Yeah, he does. Harry, you might not be familiar with the work of Mal Meninga, who captained Australia, Queensland, the Canberra Raiders, but had a shocking run of broken arms through the late 80s, like come back from a broken arm, broke his arm. He ended up playing for about 18 months, Sean, with
at least
what can be best described as a goalpost pad on his forearm. It was enormous, but it kept him on the field. So
that's the old Victor Matfield trick. He basically cost bang, like break your face.
Yeah. But then he'd have the giant goalpost pad on his enormous forearm and taped it up with a Nido electrical tape. You guys, the Nido, just meters and meters of it wrapped around and around. If that's what Harry needs for Friday night, then I reckon Les Kiss should know this play very well. He'd know Mal Meninga particularly well.
True.
So I reckon go for it.
Yeah, and it actually became incorporated into his running style. He'd be running along and he'd just sort of lead with the forearm. It was like he was running with a shield. So Harry Wilson, if you're listening or you're watching, there's some free advice.
He loves Big H loves his league. He'll know it.
He does. He absolutely would know it. He absolutely know it. So we certainly give the Reds a chance. I think they've probably got to play their best game of the year, because I don't know that we've seen it this year yet.
That's why the finals actually appeal, and not just in this comp, but in every single one.
Yeah,
there's enough of a derby, or there's enough of a spice. It doesn't feel like the formalities. I do think that Reds will come have a red hot go. And then when you jump across the Chiefs Blues, even though again you'd say, Blues, nothing, Chiefs predominant, that matchup is tricky. That's a proper derby.
The Battle of the Bombays for 30 years, even when one team has been terrible and the other team has been champions, has always been a great matchup. It's almost one of those games, Sean, where you can forget about current form, you can forget about injury lists, you can forget about who they're actually putting out in the park. It's going to be black against blue, and they will belt that out of each other.
Why is it called the Battle of the Bombays?
The Bombay Hills are the hill range in between Hamilton and Auckland on the motorway down to Hamilton. Gotcha.
Okay. I can't wait, and I love seeing, fellas, and I'm sure you will have appreciated on the weekend as well, was seeing the Blues utilise some of their outside backs in a way that we haven't seen all season long. It's all just been blunt force, in tight. They get within the 22. It's just bang, bang, bang. It's been I reckon they've been a tough watch for large parts of the season. Like, really have just been reduced. It might be intentional. Obviously, they might be just timing their run to perfection, but been reduced just to a grinding team, just a ground and pound team. But on the weekend, just seeing it get shifted to the edges, it helps when you've got Clark and Talea on the wings. But it was so good to watch. Like when they, Barrett at pace, sweeping round, crossfield kicks, all that stuff. And that's why I reckon they can really push the Chiefs this weekend.
It is kind of
Yeah.
bizarre. I mean, Brett and I've been looking at this Club Hub stats thing, and the Blues are the bottom of the pack on width. They're the narrowest team.
They're the narrowest team in
throw the fewest
professional
passes.
rugby all across the world, aren't they?
Seriously, yeah,
They're the
okay,
bottom
there
out
you go.
of 51 teams, and they're
Yeah.
Super Rugby, and they're the bottom of 51 teams on
And
all the
they've
things you would
got Caleb
associate.
Clark and Mark
the
Tilley
opposite.
on the wings.
It makes
Wow.
no sense. Although,
Makes
Brett, I
no
do think you
sense
should have had a picture of the Bombays right now when we're talking. I think that would. I mean, if we were
Put it in
proper,
post. Put it
Yeah.
in post. That's what they do. That's
Put
what
it
the
in
good ones
post.
do.
the hills of
it's-
Bombay.
I have not taken that sledge from you, Sean Maloney. Yeah,
But I reckon it's going to be a really good. I reckon it'll be a great game, and I
Yeah.
reckon teams in recent weeks. I mean, I tell you what, fellas, the Highlanders. I mean, that could have gone down to the final play of the game the
Yeah.
other night down there in Dunedin if they had found a way to score and not let Ratima hold them up. So I think there's been little blueprints on the way through this season. I reckon the
Yeah.
Waratahs unearthed the side of the Chiefs where you can maybe attack as well, which should suit the Blues if they do want to go a touch narrow as well for parts of that game. So, oh man, I reckon it's going to be quite tight. So if we're just looking at the algorithm, as we love to do, the Crusaders are expected to beat the Reds by 12. This is the algorithm. This isn't us. And Harry, the Chiefs are expected to beat the Blues by 9. That's
See?
the algorithm.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So here's
That's
an interesting
interesting.
little. You mentioned the Highlanders. The teams with the two highest bonus point tallies this year are the Blues and the Highlanders. The Blues had 9, Highlanders had 8.
Mm.
Highlanders 8 bonus points. 7 of them are losing bonus points. That's the most of the
Poor
competition.
Jeremy Joseph. Yeah, that's brutal.
Yeah.
So, Brett, tell us about the Brumbies. What are you expecting your boys to do up against red
Look,
hot Hurricanes?
It's going to be interesting, and it's interesting because they did play, what was it, 5 weeks ago or something like that. So on that particular night, the Brumbies got caught out. The Canes were able to get out wide, and they throw. We know they play wide. We know they're one of the widest teams. They're certainly the widest team in Super Rugby. They might be one of the widest teams in all professional teams. But they also throw the most long passes, and I think they throw the most long passes in the world, Harry. So that's how they do it. They go Roygaard to Love to the wings, and they're covering 40 meters in 2 passes. But the Brumbies had a bit of a dress rehearsal for that last weekend. The Crusaders play very, very similarly, and they were able to keep the Crusaders reasonably narrow. You're like, yes, Sevu Reece got involved, but he got involved because that's what he does. It's not like they were putting him away down the sideline. So I think they've made that little adjustment in their defence. And talking to Tom Hooper earlier in the week for a Rugby Pass bit of mine that's probably out by the time you're all listening to this, he said that has been a big adjustment of theirs in the last month, 6 weeks. That they've just had to sort of tighten up their defence a bit out wide and just reconnect is the word they're using. So they're going to be stinging not finishing second. That's going to hurt for a while. And it was interesting, Sean, being out on the field straight after the game on Friday night, where usually you see guys, congregating, they're talking together and all that. What I saw was a lot of Brumbies players on their own, very ashen-faced. They were processing that straight away. So I think the hurt of last week probably helps them this week.
Do you reckon that they've spent any time this week working on drop goals? Close out games?
I heard I saw your thoughts on between 2 posts. Yeah, it's fair, and it wasn't until I actually watched that clip of yours back on the Monday show that I actually realised how much time they did spend in that centre channels. Because watching it live, I thought they were doing what they normally do. They play to the left, they play to the right, they did all that, but they actually spent a good chunk of time in the middle. So yeah, it's interesting. There's only been 2 drop goals kicked all year. There's only been 8 attempted, and 3 of them were in a golden point game. So
yeah. No, I think I'm hoping that they've got it sorted, because that they've got the guys with the skill set there to do it. I mean, they're all freakishly talented. I reckon almost anyone in that back line could land a droppy for them. I reckon even Corey Toole would be able to pop one over. So I'm hoping they've got that tweaked. As you say, the finishing second has really potentially could really hurt them. But this is a really good footy team. I mean, to work back from an 11-point deficit against the Crusaders, it was massive. And the way they turned it on in that second half, I can't wait. I mean, it's going to be great. I just hope, fellas, it's a live game, because if it's a live game, we're set for a real cracker. It's a proper cracker. It's
a quirk of the scheduling, not necessarily the format so much that has made that game what it is. So it's interesting in going through the format and working out a few different permutations. So what it amounts to is the Brumbies need the Crusaders to lose.
Well, they'd love for the Chiefs and the Crusaders to both lose, because then they take top seeding, correct, for the second and third week.
And that's correct. Yes, but they can. So their hopes of hosting a semi-final aren't dead yet.
No.
They could be by kickoff on Saturday. But yeah, it's interesting. What do you think of the new format, Sean?
Well, I love it. I love that we've got 6 teams. I've been screaming for 6 teams since we started Super Rugby Pacific. I was so off the whole 8-team concept. I think they've nailed it down with the 6. And I mean, if we look at it, then Harry, don't you reckon next year? I mean, you would have to say that neither the Reds or the Brumbies are going to go backwards next year, so they should be right for the 6. And then you got to think that, I mean, the Tars are going to improve out of sight year 2 under Dan McKellar, so we should have a fairly even split for the finals in 2026, even if this year is the launch pad for that.
Yeah, I think in a comp of 11 teams, 6 feels right. 8 was a bit embarrassing, because then you have the weird specter of a negative points differential. Yeah, I mean, we all wondered about the Waratahs. They started out well. They just seemed to run into obstacles on red zone attack. They couldn't keep anyone out of their red zone. You would think, Ben Darwin's out there talking about the cohesion markers, and he said, they're on the right track. So we all believe in Benny.
And similarly, the Force, Moana have got plenty of lessons to take out of 2025 as well, and you would like to think that they can be better as well. So if we have a situation next year where there is 8 or maybe even 9 teams pushing for 6 spots going into the last couple of rounds, the competition is going to be mega next year. It'll be great to watch.
It really will, and it'll need to be as well, I think, fellas, off the back of the Lions tour this year, and with Harry, am I right in saying next year is the start of the New Zealand South Africa tour as well?
Yeah.
So
truncated rugby championship thing.
Yeah, we need a big Super Rugby next year as that bridge between Lions and then the World Cup in 27, and I reckon it will be. I reckon it's going to be excellent. I really do.
Do we get?
I kind of think that it's overall listening to the fans. So the idea of the 6, everyone was saying that for a couple of years, and then it happened. So I'm going to put that into the basket of this office somewhere in Sydney is listening. Actually doing things
somewhere in Sydney. we need to go and find this office, don't we? Yeah, no, they've done it. They've done it right. And then the obvious question is, why don't you just give first and second the week off and do it that way? Well,
that's the top 14 model, right?
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
I must say, I don't mind that approach either. So if we're then to delve into the actual finals themselves, Brett, I don't mind that idea either.
Yeah, it comes into revenue though. Like that's what it comes down to. They've lost the game a week for 16. Well, for 15 rounds. Yeah, first week of the finals last year was 2 games. It was 4 games. If it's 3 games this year, then that's a compromise. But if you go straight back down to only 2 games in the first week, then that's actually a chunk of revenue that teams are losing as well.
I hadn't considered that. That's well thought out.
Yeah. So I'll be interested to see how it works out. The transition from qualifying final winners and one loser to semi-final, and the re-rankings and the mental maths that needs to go on
the lucky
in between there with reseedings and lucky losers and things like that. That took a little bit of doing. I've still got lots of notes here with arrows and things all over the place. It was all very involved. But yeah, I'll be really keen to see how it all plays out, because I think it is going to be a ripping final series.
How is it, fellas? How is it that no Australian team has ever won a finals game in New Zealand? That is insane.
In
when
30
you think
years.
when you think about the quality of players and teams that Australia have had, you know, let's go early 2000s and the rest of it, that's wild. Wild.
Yeah. Well, I suppose when you think about it, you know, the Brumbies back in the early 2000s, even Queensland in the 90s, New South Wales in the 2010s.
Like even Waratahs, when the Waratahs had that crack there, they were early 2000s and again a little bit later, early 2000s as well.
I reckon they were all
nuts.
finishing top two. They were all finishing top two. So they hosted a home semi-final. And so they've hosted a lot of finals. That's the other thing. They've actually hosted a good number of finals, and they probably haven't had to. I mean, they've had to play finals in New Zealand, obviously, but yeah, I don't know. It's a good question.
It's crazy.
It's a question that's going to. It's a question that's going to annoy us until someone finally breaks the drought. That's what it's going to come down to.
Go the Reds.
Yeah. Let's get on to the player of the year, the teams of the year, and this has put this one down, Harry, to another thing that they've done well this year. They said at the start of the year they were going to name the inaugural player of the year competition. It was going to be awarded by opposition coaches and captains, and they did it. And Ardie Savea was confirmed, you know, weeks out, as it turns out, but it was actually a really interesting ongoing narrative because, well, Tom Hooper's ended up running fourth there. Damien McKenzie, Timothy Tavatavanawai have gone ahead of him as the season's gone out. But it was interesting to see it all play out because, you know, you started recognizing that actually Tom Hooper is having a stormer of a year. Like, is he going to finish top of the voting? And there's no question that Ardie Savea was the best player in the competition over the course of the 16 weeks. But I think it added something to the competition in exactly the same way, Sean, that the fantasy league added to the competition this year.
Definitely did. And even though, as you say, Ardie had an unassailable lead at the top there, it's the way that they caught the moment with him running out the other night, announced as the MVP through the smoke, with the music,
with
him
the
coming out, giving the big chest.
In Wellington as well.
In Wellington at his former club's home ground. It was awesome. Again, really, really well done. So I thought, Harry, now we've got that moment. So next year when we're rolling out who's going to be the MVP this year, we've got that little, it's not a little trophy grab or a handshake. We have got a moment from Ardie celebrating it, going nuts, bang away we go in 2026.
It's a battle for eyeballs, and drama sells, and each generation coming in, you know, is more immune to sort of the old boys in a blazer. I don't know, you know, talking about the Queen or something. This is where you want some razzmatazz, and I also like the system itself because it rewarded good players on bad teams or not, you know, poorly performing teams. It captured people who are playing well in a beaten pack. I mean, I think that's even better sometimes if you can get a Jeremy Williams and he's just every night's a war, you know, and he's won 3 or 4 games. Yeah.
Just going back on the moment, Sean, I think in many ways that had a bigger impact around the award. The fact that you could a whole state, 20,000 people in Wellington could literally rise to their feet and celebrate this bloke. This is the player of the year. I think that gets a whole lot more attention and a lot more cut through than a podium out in the game afterwards. Congratulations, mate. Here's your medal. I mean, it's like it was a proper celebration. Yeah.
It looks so good. Yeah. It looks so good. Here's a question for you guys. Getting back to what you mentioned just before, Harry, and I'm sure we're going to swing into the individuals around the player of the year. If we put a really basic, I'm gonna, how do I put this? So if we use the fantasy as the chart, so if we move away from the MVP voting quickly onto the fantasy front, and my wife asked me, who's become a fantasy addict this year. So Marissa asked me the other week. She says, "I'm going through the standings of the fantasy players." And the Western Force guys are at the top. So Throbber Robertson, Tom Robertson's up the top. Darcy Swain's up the top.
Yeah.
Harry Potter's up the top. Tizano's up the top. Stewart's up the top. Why are they not top of the ladder? And it's a perplexing question, which I couldn't answer because these guys are all crunching key numbers and key stats, but the team result is not reflective of how good a season these guys have had as individuals. It's a strange thing when you look at it that way.
Yeah, so to do this, the Roar team, what I did, and Brett saw this picture I sent him, I did a giant piece of paper, and I started out with the most minutes of Australian players, and that was my matrix from which all other things flowed. And the Force guys were of the top 12 or 15 guys on minutes, they probably had 10. So you're going to boost the stats on fantasy because you have so many minutes bedded into guys like Jeremy Williams, Harry Potter.
Understood. Okay.
Who's Matt Greeley? I mean, they literally had the top minutes. Yeah.
But then that also then flows into the actual problem for the Force, and their squad depth was much better in 2025. But all those guys are having to play big minutes because the depth isn't quite there yet. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And
so I'm learning.
That's it. But I love that there's conversations like that going on, and I don't do fantasy. I don't do it. I don't have the
time. You don't do fantasy in life? Like you don't engage in any fantasy at all? Fantasy literature?
Sci-fi fantasy. Brett, you've got to get involved in it, mate. It's awesome fun. It's easy to do. It's easy to do. It's awesome fun. It gets you interested across the duration of the season for games you ordinarily might not watch. It becomes really
and I get all that.
It's great.
And that's exactly the point I was going to make. I love that it has actually got people more engaged in the game. So, if we're ticking boxes of things that they said that they were going to do this year, that is a big winner. And the fantasy points thing is a thing. Like we know the players were involved. We know the players were playing it. We know that some players are giving other players grief because their fantasy value is more than their contract value. So, I mean, ouch. But we know that they're involved, and we know that they're engaged in it. So, like it's great. But I think that the best thing about the player of the year and the team of the year, as it was named as well, is that
graphics.
Graphic. Because it is voted on by the opposition coaches and captains. I think that there's instant gravitas to it. Like, yes, it's they've just gone, all right, who's the leading hooker with the most number of votes? It's Tavita.
Okay, so just to clarify, so the team of the year, guys, just out of interest, so these are the guys who've garnered the most votes across the season
in the player of the year.
Opposing coach and the opposing captain who voted 3-2-1.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha. Understood.
And so now we have the funny little situation there, and we can see on the screen Carlo Tizzano and Fraser McWright on equal points at open side, and you see that and you go, oh yeah, they can't split it. They literally couldn't split it. They went back to on a count back. They would normally go, well, who had the most 3-point votes? They both had the same. They both had the same 2-point votes. They both had the same 1-point vote. They literally could not be split. So there's now 9 in the scrum for the team of the year.
and by the way, Lengy Gleeson was tied with them in the beginning.
He was.
Well. There were three of them, and he lost on the tiebreaker. So that's really fascinating. There could have been, I don't know, a pack of 10 with three.
He also lost out because Artie Savia played enough games at number 8 that where I also had to slot him in there somewhere. So, but I love that. After 16 rounds, they literally could not split these two guys, which is great. It's a great
on fantasy. I just want to return to fantasy. I would like Len Ikitau to get special points every time he points to the camera when he scores. That should be a bonus, double bonus.
He's been doing that for the Wallabies and for the Brumbies, hasn't he, Harry? He just knows where that camera is.
Yeah,
he is the boss of that. Yeah,
I would go as far as saying he makes his run from the middle of the field to the outside corner because he knows the camera is looking that way.
Scopes it out before the game, makes friends with the camera.
Were there any questions, any quibbles about that team of the year in the end?
No,
because I can't really make any.
Each of those guys were enormous. Who else am I trying to think who played really well just from an Aussie perspective across the season that might have been a little hard done by? Tommy Robertson had a massive year over at the Force. I thought he was He was enormous for them. Who else? Obviously, Lange was fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, it was
I think-
like someone like Darcy Swain or Nick Frost maybe in the second row, but
Nick Frost
I'm not
has been
going
good.
to argue Tupou Vai even, but I'm not going to argue with
Yep.
Jeremy Williams and Patrick Tuipulotu. They were both enormous. So there's no real question there. There's a bit of discussion around Suoli'i at fullback, Harry.
Yeah, because of the number of minutes. But
Yeah,
the format, the way the format works, it's sort of week by week, so it doesn't really matter. It takes his superlative performance in the smaller number of weeks.
That's the counter there. You know, the criticism on social media was Suoli'i didn't play enough games. How can he possibly? The thing is, he had such an impact
when he did play. You
7 or 8 games that he played
that
he scored more points from opposition coaches and captains than any other fullback. He was 1 point or 2 points clear of Will Jordan.
Well, you would have had him, so you would have gone bang, bang. So he would have gone 3-3 against Minor Pacifica over there in the afternoon game where he was unbelievable. You'd imagine. What other games did he... I'm just trying to think of the other matches, guys. God, it's been a long 16 weeks. Maybe against the Chiefs. He played really well against the Chiefs.
Yeah.
So you're right. So it doesn't take long to stack up a couple of 3-point hits. And when you go double-double, then it's hard to rein back. And also, it's Joseph Suoli'i.
The one thing about him, and Brett and I were talking about it this week, is where he ultimately plays at test level. Where do you think his proper test and club? Because it might be different.
That's a fair question. That's a fair question.
I love the idea of as many of the best players in Australia being on the field at the same time. And I guess that's kind of the Origin approach, isn't it? So Tom Wright's been... I don't understand how you could consider for a second shifting Righty out of there. So he stays 15. So that sets up... I like the idea of 12-13 of Len and Suoli'i again. 12-13. Just like that England test. And then we've got so
12.
many good wingers.
Yeah. I'm quite sure that'll happen.
You reckon?
Yeah. Because if you go back and watch a little bit of the Brumbies in the last 6 weeks, Len Ikitau is spending a lot of time at second receiver,
just shifting in a little bit.
Yeah. In certainly in attack, definitely defense as well. We've had Laurie Fisher in commentary for the ABC here in Canberra, and we keep putting him on the spot, saying this is how we're going to see them in the Lion series, isn't it? In Laurie, and he goes, "Oh well, we'll just have to wait and see." You know, he's saying everything by not saying anything.
And Len's such a phenomenal talent. I mean, he could easily obviously shift in and amongst those two spots and go well. So I reckon Harry and Brett, I'm hoping that's what we get, and that's not really displacing anyone who's had good years in a 13 at a super level, I don't think. So I reckon that's the way to go.
Yeah, I think midfield in the Australian teams has probably been a bit self-explanatory almost this year, Harry. There hasn't really been a standout 12, which is why there won't be much argument if and when Ikitau moves in one. So Suoli'i and Suoli'i slots into 13 because equally, aside from Ikitau, named next best at 13 this year.
Yeah, that makes sense that this might be the position that's the most needed. I do quite like him. The idea of him at wing appeals to me because I feel like he's a mismatch every single time, and you can find that mismatch kind of at will with kick contest. And also I wonder sometimes about his tackle technique in the midfield. Yeah. But that being said, I mean, I kind of think give him more touches. You know, whenever he touches the ball the most, give it to him.
Yeah. I think if you played him on the wing, you'd have to play him on the right, and then that takes away from someone like Harry Potter, who's been absolutely outstanding. Yeah. And because I think you would want someone like who's going to be on the left. Andrew Kellaway might struggle. He might make 23, but I don't know that he starts this year.
And I'm thinking specifically about the Lions wings. Yeah,
I would normally agree with you, Sean, but I think the body of work from Harry Potter this year is going to make that decision very hard.
Yeah, he's been fantastic. And I wonder about the Lions. I mean, you know, who their wings will end up being. because they have a lot of mix and match too, and they have some really tall guys like Blair Kinghorn to run. The aerial contest for me, the Lions series is going to be fascinating. The aerial contest, so I want to see Joseph in as many of those jump balls as possible.
Yeah, and that's fair. That's fair. I think we can still see that wherever he plays.
Sure.
Shawnee, this has been a great chat as always, mate. It's always great catching up with you. It's always great thinking about finals and good games to come. I love how you get into it. I love how you've got into it, everything this year. This is an exciting couple of weeks for you, leading into a very exciting, very busy month for you as well.
It's been a, you know what, fellas? I can't remember who I was chatting to yesterday, but this year's been really enjoyable. I think last year, I think we were all so shell shocked still off the back of that World Cup, and I think there was a lot of negativity that sort of rightly crept in right through. This time last year, I was like, oh fuck, you know, like it was sort of it was a tough year for earlier part of the year last year, I think, but it has changed so significantly a year on. And I think when I know we touched on this at the start of the year, off the back end of the spring tour last year, there was some hope. Now our guys are playing really well, and there's a good vibe to it all. And honestly, the Lions is just going to be so much fun, win, lose or draw.
Yeah,
like, just think about how many. There's going to be between 40 and 50 that come down, 1,000 fans. Yeah. So a full Allianz Stadium of fans just coming down for that 6-week period. It's going to be epic. God, it's going to be so good. It's going to be so good. And just quickly, this is what brought into really sharp focus for me on our show yesterday. So we have Owen Finnegan in Harry, who gave me my all-time favourite moment in both rugby and in commentary when he scores that World Cup match-sealing try against France, off the flick inside ball from Gregan, off the back of the line out. Go for the line, man.
Go for the line, man.
There, right? So that for me, that is everything. That's 1999. That is everything still now to this day. And I asked him the other day, as we watched back highlights of 01's Lions win full-time in Sydney, what gave you a bigger adrenaline hit? What was a bigger moment for you? What do you look back on more fondly now? Winning the World Cup or winning that Lions series? And he says the Lions series was bigger than the World Cup. And that's from the Melon. Yeah. That's massive.
And his answer for it was really good, putting it in the context of being an Irish family. His parents were both born in Ireland. He's the only one of his family born in Australia. But what it meant to his family to have them all come out, like, it was enormous.
Yeah, they're always very highly emotional things, these series.
Yeah. Quick one for you then, mate, Sean, and we will absolutely see you in Brisbane, Melbourne, Sydney, and we'll have several beers celebrating it when we do it. Are we talking career highlight for you?
Yeah, so this is the final piece, essentially. Like, so I've been lucky enough to do, starting World Cup 20s, Women's World Cup in New Zealand, Sevens World Cup, Olympics. All of them, and Olympics done that now too. So this is sort of the final piece, and I get to join two of the great callers in Gordon Bray and Clarkey, who had theirs in 01, who had theirs again with Clarkey doing 13. So it's fellas, it's really cool, And then if off the other side of it, if that's that, then that's that. Like it's such a special thing, and I'm so pumped. Yeah, it's going to be so good.
I really enjoyed listening to you this year, Shawnee, because this year your only problem has been running out of adjectives to describe all the tries.
Yeah.
Whereas a year ago it was struggling to make it kind of exciting and positive. Yeah.
Also, Harry, the finishes. So we've had so many remarkable, batshit crazy, like you can't even conceive finishes this year. It becomes tricky to find new ways to describe something that has just gone to another level on the week before. So I thought 25 phases, going back to the start of the year, force beating Moana Pacifica after 25 phases, 5 minutes in at stoppage time, Benny Donaldson running away. I thought there's no way we can better that. And then
It's been topped 3 or 4 times.
That's right. Just get there, you go. Oh shit! Now what? Like how? Even Derby's try the other week in the 93rd minute.
Somersault, Salchow.
And that's the absolute curse of the commentator. You'll say something along the lines of, "I don't think we'll ever see anything better than that."
Until next week.
A week later, you get done. Great to have a chat. We will quite sincerely all the best through the finals, through the Lion series. We'll see you around the traps.
Catch me on the other side, fellas. Catch me on the other side. I'm just off for a hit of golf with Wallabies legend Matt Burke, who is
shameless name dropper.
Well, no, because he's a colleague now, so I'm not even name dropping. He's going to be my cross to bear at Royal Warringah. It's going to be a big step down to the courses that he's used to.
How many strokes are you giving him, Shawnee?
Well, he's a seriously good golfer. So Burke is a seriously good golfer. Matty Rogers is a freakishly good golfer. Morgs hits a decent ball, but Burkey, he'll turn up and it'll be just like when he played. The shirt will be tucked in. He's a shirt tucker from way back. There'll be a belt that will match the shoes. Yeah. The hair will be perfectly done. He's a real student of the game, so he's gonna absolutely wipe the floor with me. But he doesn't know how to get it done at a little lowly public course, and that's where I'm going to scrap him.
Yes,
I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
good on you, mate. Best of luck with that. We'll catch up with you soon.
Cheers.
This is the 8-9 combo with Brett McKay and Harry Jones, and mate, great to have Sean Maloney back on the 8-9. Always love catching up with you. Always.
Yeah, it's one of the great things of doing this is you have your friends on and you can just chat, and there's really no nerves, and you don't have to worry about an outline. I don't think we had anything written down.
No, we didn't.
Shawnee,
I mean, I had a couple of dot points. and a couple of well-made graphics.
He was very.
I love that we're getting compliments for our graphic game now. We will be back with the weekend post-mortem, looking back at all the big games and the big results from all the finals around the rugby world this weekend. That's out Sunday or Monday, depending on where you are in the rugby world. So Super Rugby qualifying finals are all games of the week, mate, as are all the ERC semi-finals. Leinster, Glasgow, Bulls, Sharks. I mean, we don't need to pick one, but that's 2 really spicy matchups there.
Yeah, the organizers are loving this. You have so many revenge motifs. You have deeply held rivalries. Our friend Hugh keeps pointing out to me in various audio notes that when you actually look at the statistic shapes of Leinster and Glasgow, they're almost identical, which makes sense as to why when one of them beats the other one, sometimes it can get out of control because they're so similarly constructed. And then on the Sharks-Bulls side, you have a team, the Sharks, which hasn't been playing beautiful rugby, but they have only had 1 more loss than the Bulls. And of the Bulls' 4 losses, 2 of them are to the Sharks.
That's the interesting bit for me.
This sets up this battle. A lot of players will tell you it's really hard to go 3-0, to take that third one, because it's just difficult to sweep a team that's, your peer. The other way around it is, no, the Sharks know how to beat you, so we're just going to keep beating you.
Yeah,
and that's a very interesting subtitle.
And the fact that they've beaten them in Durban and in Pretoria as well, the Sharks they'll be walking out on a cloud onto Loftus on Saturday. So it'll be really interesting. And the bracket's interesting. We've looked at this a few times. It's going to be a clash of styles meet in the final. The following week, isn't it? The Glasgow and Leinster Glasgow and Leinster on one side, the Bulls and Sharks on the other side. So it's going to be a real meeting of the styles, so to speak, in the middle. So
yeah, and I hear that Loftus will sell out tomorrow. So it almost sold out today already, and then it's going to be sold out tomorrow. You have what organizers love, which is a local derby transported into the semifinal of the comp, and it's just perfect. Yeah, absolutely. Premiership semi-finals this weekend as well. Bath v Bristol at the Rec. Is that on Friday night? I believe so. That's also
I think it's a Friday night game. Yeah,
and then
Leicester
derby there.
Leicester Sale at Welford Road on Saturday as well. So I mean that's going to be two fascinating games.
Those are two.
I actually genuinely can't wait to watch those ones.
Those are two beautiful derbies in and of themselves, and in fact, they're really hostile. They're Sale Leicester has turned into something really belligerent this season, and it's interesting too because Bristol is also the one team that's troubled the front runners. And so we were talking to Pat Lamb, and he said something along the lines of, well, we'll just keep doing what we've been doing because we know how to beat them. And very calm, not trying to, no shithousery. Just
in much the same way the Sharks going to Pretoria, they won't really be. There's no fear factor because they've done it. And I suppose like you look at the table, and they've been like, yes, it's close, I suppose, between Bristol and Gloucester and Saracens, but I think the top four has kind of always been angling that way anyway. Like I don't think it was a great surprise that this was the final four.
Yeah, there was some near misses. Yeah, I think Gloucester was kind of riding pretty close to it for a long time. Saracens as well. I just would say that Sharks, Bulls, Leinster, Glasgow, Bath, Bristol, and Sale Leicester is literally a dream set of finals. That's just beautiful playoffs. That's playoff rugby that anyone, I don't care who you are, if you don't like those matchups and you cannot find a couple of those that you want to engross yourselves in, you don't love rugby. This is going to be really probably one of the best weekends of rugby so far.
Yeah. I will have to catch the URC semis after the fact, but I might be able to get both the Premiership semis live, I think. So, depending on what time that Friday night game's on, that might be a little bit ungodly for me. It's the final round of the top 14, and all games. I mean, they love a late kickoff in France. All games at 9 p.m. Saturday night. There. What's your pick here? I've got a few theories. Is there a standout game for you there?
To be honest, I'm so obsessed with the ERC, the Super Rugby, and the Prem, but I haven't even looked over at top 14. I'm waiting until they start their playoffs, and then I'll tune in.
And then you'll regain interest. Let me put it to you. Let me make an executive decision then. I go straight to middle of that list for Montpellier Clermont on Saturday. A win so Clermont have to win to be a chance of going into the top 6, and then they also need La Rochelle, who are only 2 points above them, I think, to lose to Po. But La Rochelle are playing away. I mean, Clermont are playing away as well. So I just think that the jeopardy around those two games is going to be really, really interesting. So, it's one of those weekends. Like La Rochelle can't afford to go, it's an away game, we don't care. Right. Like they were doing at the start of the year. They can't afford to do that. They're clinging into 6 at the moment. They've got to hold in there. But I just think Clermont Montpellier just has a little extra thing in it about it. And I mean, there's not even taking away too much that, Varn and Perpignan, desperate to avoid relegation, they play Bordeaux and Toulouse respectively this week. And so the question there is, Bordeaux and Toulouse taking this week off early to get another week off for the finals? Is there a chance that one of those two down the bottom could actually sneak a win? And imagine if Varn beat Bordeaux to get out of the automatic relegation zone, and then that puts them into a relegation game, obviously. But I mean, that would be enormous for them to avoid automatic relegation. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Best weekend of rugby so far, I think.
Yeah. I think so.
In the breadth and the width of it. We've had the big Champions Cup final. We've had some big shots. This is just one of those. The gifts keep on coming.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, Japan League 1 obviously finished last weekend. The Toshiba Brave Lupus beat Kubota Spears 18-13 in the final. It's the last round of Major League Rugby as well, mate. And there's a little remnant game on Wednesday in the States, Chicago, Houston. I think that's sort of a remnant from round 16, I think we're up to. The Eastern Conference top 4 is set. The Western Conference top 4 is far from. So I think the pick there is actually it might be San Diego and Old Glory. And San Diego are 1 point off fourth in the Western Conference. So it's big. It's a big game for them. They've been going so well all year, and then they've sort of dropped off the cliff a bit in the last 6 weeks.
I've quite liked the rugby on the Western side of the MLR more than I have the Eastern. So what's interesting is the shapes are now diverging a bit. And you can literally watch a game and go, oh, that's Western style. And over here, that's Eastern style. I like that.
Yeah, that's fair. That's more than fair. So I think that's the big there. The Harry Index is back. And I mean, that looks like an awfully like a new pen in play, because suddenly it's readable again, mate. The new pen was overdue, can I say?
It's beautiful, isn't it? It's almost like
it is. It's very
very
beautiful.
A document that was found, like, the Vikings were raiding and a cathedral was burned, and they find this one.
This scroll found behind a brick wall. Yes, that's what it looks
getting
like.
Very ornate.
Bordeaux, Chiefs, Bath, Toulouse, Bulls, Leinster, Toulon, Leicester Tigers, Glasgow, Northampton. Then you've got Crusaders, Sale, Hurricanes, Brumbies in your bubble area. You've causing at the back. I think my only quibble in that is that I think you are maybe overhyping Northampton's Champions League run at the expense of, say, Sale or the Crusaders, who have consistently been better across the year.
Yeah, so the Saints poised at 10. You can. It's almost inevitable they're not going to hold on to that.
Yeah.
So since they don't
surely they're out next week.
Since they don't get to keep playing, and teams like Sale and Crusaders, Canes, Brumbies, they all are.
All those teams in the bubble are still alive.
You would suspect that a couple of those are going to take the Saints out.
Yeah, I would think that's going to be the case. Can it be that something that started as an absolute piss take a bit over a year ago is now gaining credibility? Is the Harry Index now a real actual thing?
So obviously the Oracle, it's Mount Ararat in Turkey, wherever the index lives. It's not me. I'm just the mouthpiece. And like everything that I'm involved in, it's 50% piss take and 50% real. And you never really know which one is which. But then mysteriously you wake up and it goes, what? Everyone's taking that seriously. My theory is this. Obviously, it's very well done. I researched the shapes of the league and plotted those with intricate detail, but I don't show off that. All you see is this little page. You don't see the work behind it. But it shows up and people see it because over the course of 50 weeks, 100 weeks, you go, that's actually been pretty predictive. And the big feature, for example, this week is Leinster falling. So that's a predictive. That's a move by the index to say, we think something is rotten in Dublin.
Yes, and didn't that go down well?
I mean,
what
Bernard
do you mean
Beckman
we're
has been spot on. He said it's been the most underwhelming, 900 caps, performance. They are under the gun right now. There's every opportunity here for Glasgow to shock the world, take them out, and then it's going to be like a circular firing squad. Dublin. Like they're just all going to be blaming each other.
Just a quick one on Irish rugby. Stuart Lancaster named new head coach for Connacht.
Interesting.
That's interesting.
Very interesting, because the little birdie told us that, he was hot onto the Wallabies job, may have even thought he had it for a while. So there's some crossover here with Aussie coaches leaving Australia, Ireland, and Lancaster going back from whence he came, where he was once the head of the academy and behind it. So I kind of think he might be going to a good spot for him. I kind of think Galway.
I think you might be right.
A nice spot for it.
How long was he involved with Leinster for? It was a good period, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he was
after he finished with England. Yeah,
different guys. So he had roles that were intertwined. He was instrumental in Ireland's rise. So I think He's always said that he really loves rugby, teaching it. When he was on our show, he kind of detailed how he thought about bringing young players along. So Ireland, besides with Leinster, has been complaining for a while now at not developing talent in the other provinces. So I think this is good. Stuart there, Clayton McMillan at Limerick, and you have you have some real top coaches.
Yeah, no, it's a good shout. It's a good shout. We should we might get our people to get back in touch with Stuart Lancaster. Might be a good due for another chat there. It would be. Anything else that we need to add? I think
ready.
We've got it.
I'm ready for the weekend.
Ready. Yeah. It's a good weekend of finals footy. This is the pits of the rugby year that we really love and that we really spark up for. So I can't wait to get into it. That then is another great episode of the 8-9 combo behind us. Our sincere thanks to Sean Maloney for joining us and for coming back in just a second. Harry and I remain on the socials in our usual places at Harry Baldy Jones and at BMC Sport. And don't forget to be sure to find and follow and comment and subscribe and interact with the 8-9 combo on Twitter, on YouTube, and on Blue Sky as well. You can leave a rating or review wherever you can. You can share us as far and wide as you can as well. This is the 8-9 combo, the short side set piece combination you didn't realize you needed in a rugby podcast. We've got Sean Maloney back for the closer. I'm Brett McKay. He's Harry Jones, and we'll be back in your ears in just a few days' time with the weekend post-mortem.
Can't play with us.
Here goes Jones with another bruising run. He links up with McKay, who pops back to Jones. They can't. They won't. They will. What a try. The Dream Team combo go in again.